What's going on, guys? Hardcore has arrived, and we are here to get you up to speed on everything you need to know, from changes being implemented to what to look for while out gathering your loot. Let's get right to it. So, Hardcore's here. We're on day two as of time of recording. Things have been a lot of fun. It has been a pretty big change up in the experience of what Escape from Tarkov was and is. We went from being, these hardcore. Well, okay, hardcore is not the word we use there. We went from being these task oriented players who load in on raid one or day one, and go do ground zero tasks and try to deal with all that and then move on. Like the usual back and forth of tasking has been removed,
Right.
and we were dropped into a world with no traders, and a lot of interesting rule changes. So we'll go ahead and dive into all that stuff, give a little discussion and our opinions on some of it, and try to kind of point you guys in a direction that lets you know kind of what to prioritize and what to look for and how to go about these things. So I guess we'll start with the rules, right? Like the few
Yeah.
things that we know that like actually affect your play style. And the biggest change is to your secure container.
Yeah.
You can't put ammo in there. You can't put any meds outside of injectors in there. Is there anything else that you can't add to it that you can think of off the top? Ammo?
Money.
Yeah, money.
Yeah. Pretty much everything that people used to use secure containers for, you can no longer put in them. You can put like good weapon parts. You can put,
Food and water.
like hideout items, and it's like so. It's definitely still very usable, but it's not like it used to be. Like it's a change that you have to get used to.
Yeah,
Not a bad change. I love it.
I
I
agree.
think it makes people rely more on survival instead of just, I can go in, grab this, and who cares if I die because I'll just have it.
Yeah, my secure container has been almost strictly for food and water.
Yeah, same.
Um, Food and water is an extremely crucial part of surviving these raids and Escape from Tarkov right now.
Well, that's another thing, real quick. Do you think that they upped the drainage of food and water for your character?
It seems like it.
I
It
was gonna say,
seems
I
like
feel like
that.
I'm going through way more.
Yeah, I feel like I am eating and drinking multiple times per raid, which is kind of normal. But I also feel like I could survive a raid off of just a single bottle of water and a single can of food. But now it's like I'm actually having to prioritize making sure I have food and drink.
Yeah,
To the
several
point that I'm taking in
raids.
2 bottles of water and 2 cans of food every raid.
Yeah, I've never done that before. I've never had to take in 2 bottles of water. Um,
No,
Several raids I've also been towards the middle, almost end of the raid, and I've been worried about food and water because even though I brought some in, I'd already used it, and I'm getting low again, and I'm, not sure if I'm gonna find more. And it's
right.
something that's way more important, or at least it's on my mind way more now than it ever was before. So I feel like
Well,
there's something else there.
I think that also speaks to the fact that survival has been prioritized way more in the hardcore playset than any other
Right.
time. Because like you said, you could always just throw some stuff in your secure container, and if you died, it didn't really matter. Where
Right.
here, you also had insurance that you could afford. We'll get into that in a
Right.
second. But
Yeah.
where here, everything you take in now has the potential of being lost outside of a handful of food and drink items, and then
Right.
your surgery kit, which can now be put into your special slot. I guess we can touch on that since I did anyways.
Yeah, yeah. Your first special slot only for some reason.
Yeah, well, I would imagine it's just so they don't the players don't find a way to like take more than
Yeah,
one in.
yeah, yeah. It's gotta be. It has to be.
But the most important part of your medical kit is your surgery kits a lot of the time. So not losing those on every death is massive.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this when we were talking about the upcoming hardcore before we actually had the wipe. Remember, we had that big discussion about if CMS should be allowed to be in your gamma, and I was kind of worried about that. But then I changed my mind on it. I was like, you know what? I don't want you to be able to just have it at all times. So I'm
Yeah,
kind of conflicted about this special slot being able to just throw a CMS
always
in there
have
and
it.
never,
Yeah,
yeah, never lose it. Because that's
which
worse than being able to put it in your gamma. Because now you have,
I don't have to
you know,
prioritize an item slot.
exactly. So now you have all the space that, would have been taken up by the CMS because you just put it in your special slot. So it's even worse. I get it though. Um, there's a certain level of punishment that they don't want to cross, and it's
Right.
like it's something that they're trying to balance. And I feel like this stuff is all kind of just a test and they're just trying things out. So that part
Well,
of it
there's
makes me
no
okay with it.
speculation on that at all, right? On the
Right,
testing side
right.
of it.
Yeah,
It's been
Nikita said
confirmed.
it.
Nikita was saying this is purely a test. Leading into 1.0, this being the last wipe, this everything they're doing, the way everything's working out, it's all tests. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they did lower your CMS usage from 5 to 3. I imagine
Right.
surf kits have been taken down a
Yeah.
good bit as
It
well.
which is weird because they're probably still called Sir 12, so they're gonna have to
Right.
change the whole name. Sir 6s.
Yeah, Surf 5. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, it is not ideal in my opinion. If special slots were a little more utilized with the things that went in them, like multi-tool and rope are like the two things that I almost guarantee I'm always going to have in my special slots. So that third slot's usually empty anyway. So it's like now I have a free CMS slot and 2 extra slots for the things that I need that actually are useful in raid. And it doesn't really put me in a point of like, oh, I got to pick and choose what I actually put in those special slots. If that were
Yeah,
the
I'm
case, I
okay
think it
with
would
it.
be a lot more utilized. Like it would be a little bit better because then it's like, do I really need this CMS kit or do I really need this compass or whatever it is that I actually am taking in?
Well, they've improved the special slots because, now you can hold trackers or whatever the freaking things are called for quests. You can hold. There's a lot of different things that they added last wipe that you could put inside of it.
Oh yeah,
So
you're
they've
yeah.
begun to utilize them a lot more. So I was keeping a green flare in there at all times just because it's like if
Yeah,
I get to an extract and I need to get out, I'll
super
have
useful.
one.
Right.
Um, so it's like it is kind of like there's certain things that are competing against each other for that slot. So I guess it's okay because the CMS is something that you probably always want to have on you, but late game
It's
you're not going to
also
need the CMS. You're probably
right.
like you said going to be on to the survival 12 kit, and at that time it's like I doubt you're going to be able to put that in a special slot. I really don't see that. So I don't know. It's just I'm glad they're opening it up to special slots. I like the experimentation to see what they're good for and what's not good. And I feel like so far everything they've done with them has been like a good change.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't seen anything that I'm like, "Oh, that's bad." Like they shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Is there anything else they changed kit-wise that really affects how you play? I think that covers like your secure container changes and then your special slot changes. Outside of that, it's the usual like taking your meds and stuff like that.
They did change one other thing with meds where if you're bleeding now, you actually have to use a bandage. At least I
Yeah,
noticed that.
cheese does not stop it.
Yeah, and used to be as long as you had something that had 25 HP on it, 25 health points,
Yeah, it
it
would
would
stop
stop
it.
a light bleed. And now it looks like that's not the case.
Well, that's why
So
I've been running cars so heavily lately, and I've been using those as bandages because like a single use bandage, I gotta take in like 5 of them most of the time, right? Or at least
yeah,
a
yeah,
couple. The car,
yeah.
sure, it takes 50 usage, 50 HP off of it, but I don't think that's that bad when it's 220 usage. So you get, a few bleed stops and some light healing. But yeah, the car seems to be like a fucking powerhouse right now. Because I don't want to really run my IFAX and AFAX. I do have one on currently, but that's just because I took it off a body.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been mixing it up. I've been running mostly an IFAC, a car, a couple like heavy bleeds, like just mixing it up,
yeah,
whatever I have, a tourniquet or whatever, and a couple splints. Like that's really
yeah.
been like most of my, and then the CMS and the special slot. But yeah,
Well,
that's the only other like
painkillers.
yeah, oh yeah,
Painkillers have been
painkillers,
huge.
extremely
Yeah,
important. Um,
yeah. Very
because
expensive right now too, though. So
yeah, well, and that goes with everything else. They up the price on everything. So it's like your basic survival items are extremely expensive. They increase the amount that you could buy. Like used to be you could only get like 3 per reset. Well, now you can get like 24 or something like that or
yeah,
18.
24.
Um so it's like they made it to where they're always available pretty much, but to get them you're going to pay a lot of money. And it makes the reason to survive way more important because if you just try to do it like you used to with money and just buy everything you need all the time, you're going to go broke. Like it doesn't take much. If you just run a normal regular kit and you're buying almost everything for just a normal raid, you're talking probably close to 300, 400K for just a normal everyday kit. If you're going armor, meds, helmet, ears, gun, it's probably going to be close to 300, 400K.
Yeah,
which is
yeah, it is,
insane.
absolutely. When I first got on, I went to Fence and I was like, "Oh shit, we can grab some stuff this way," because I was thinking that I was expecting to die more, I think. So I went ahead and spent money. I bought extra meds. I bought some kit stuff off Fence. I grabbed a couple guns and things like that, just like some minor things, nothing crazy. And the next thing I know, I did make a mistake when I'm purchasing, and it spent a fuck ton of money. But next thing I know, I went from a mill down to like 500K, and I was like, "Oh shit." Um, so like, yeah, money does not go anywhere, and trying to sell items to recoup funds is almost pointless. I'm not gonna say it is pointless, but it is almost pointless because you are getting a minute amount of scratch back comparatively versus like the price of things.
Yeah. Yeah, most items they're
Surgery kits, painkillers are 15K, fucking single use bandages are almost 4K, 7K for a splint, 7K for a tourniquet, a piece of cheese is 11,000 rubles. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
it's crazy.
just that stuff right there, just to be able to go in with some baseline meds is 30, 40,000 rubles on its own, which is
Yeah.
absurd just for the baseline. And that's a single use of each one of those. So it's like
Yeah.
these things really add up over time, and it is hard to manage at times. But
When you combine it all together, like with the changes to the secure container, the changes to the health system, the change to the prices, it really emphasizes the survival that they're going for, or that they, were wanting. They want players to play the game a different way, and I am 100% on board with it. I love it. I realize a lot of people don't, but I just
uh,
I played Tarkov the same way for so long. I'm okay with switching it up for a little while.
yeah, any change in the loop is great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think it's a good thing.
Well, and knowing this is a short wipe, this is just testing. Like there's a lot of aspects to it that make me just go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me." Sure, you and I both like a hardcore play style. Like we both like the idea of survival over everything. So we are more prone to be like, "Yeah, yeah, this is fine." But at the same time, like I don't think it's that bad. Even trying to disconnect from how I like Tarkov and what I would love to see Tarkov as and just thinking about, regular loop gameplay loop and cycle stuff. It's like, why would you not want to not have to go to fucking ground zero and do shooting cans and, all those starting tasks that are just chaos and that everybody complains about anyways. Like you
Right.
have the opportunity to just go in raid, survive, loot, kill things, do the stuff and get out. Like it's a change in the cycle. So it's like to me that's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, knowing it's just testing, knowing it's for a short amount of time, like those things just add to the value.
I think a lot of players are just so used to having direction that it just throws them off and they don't know what to go and raid and do. And it's like, most people will just
I think that's
play
fair.
Tarkov for the quest. Like that's what they do.
Right.
They get their quest, they go in and do them, and that's their whole play style. Like it has nothing to do with going in and trying to find certain things they might need, or going in and maybe stuff for your hideout, but it's like majority of the time you're doing quests. Like that's what most people know
Yeah.
Tarkov as. So it is a big change coming from that side. Like,
But
but we've
as of
talked about,
now,
well, that's what I was gonna say. We've
tasks are
talked
back.
about, yeah, we've talked about the money, the secure container issue or changes, and just the overall conditions they've set on the player. What we haven't talked about is the map selection. Basically, they narrowed it down where we had what? Factory,
Factory Ground
customs,
Zero Customs. Yep.
yeah. And same with the scav. Scav was
Just
only
factory and customs.
factory customs.
Yeah.
There was a bug that was letting people just pick whatever map, but they patched that pretty quick. Um, so it's like it made it to where if you wanted to get to a different map, you had to transit. Uh, and then transits also had some issues where we were running into people spawning.
Transits
Uh,
still have issues as of right
yeah,
now,
they're
right?
supposed to be working on it. BSG announced they were working on it. But like that's the major changes. And then as of what you was just saying a second ago, questing. You want to explain what happened to that?
Yeah, so at the start of wipe, we had no tasks at all, and we're what this is day 2, and they've already re-implemented the tasking, which I'm
Yeah.
sure it was just a test portion for day 1. Uh, Not entirely sure why they would return so soon. To me, it seems too soon, but at the same time, like I'm not BSG, so I don't know. But you do get your starting tasks back on Ground Zero back, so you can go back to doing your regular stuff that you know and love,
Right.
just with the hardcore twist. and they did lower the cost of insurance on some things not so much. Like my gun is still like 360 some thousand rubles, but my ears and helmet, armor, stuff like that are still relatively cheap and affordable.
Yeah, it looked like maybe a 15% drop in like insurance prices or something. Nothing major. Still very
Yeah,
expensive.
not yeah, it is still one of those things that I would just say avoid insurance, prioritize survival.
Yeah,
But
it's
that's
cheaper
something
just to
that
rebuy the item or just go in and find it again. It's not worth unless it's something that you absolutely cannot risk losing. But even then, you're risking losing it when you die. Like it just
right,
insurance is almost just not
not worth
worth
it.
it.
Yeah, if I could give you guys one point of advice, it would be do not insure. Save your money for when you lose things, like actually lose items. That way you
Um,
can purchase them again if you need to. Don't blow your money on insurance because 9 times out of 10 in PvP, you're not getting half your shit back anyways.
I will say this: the one item that I have been insuring is helmets because they're dirt cheap. I don't know why, but helmets are dirt cheap to insure. Um, Armor's not. Armor's pretty expensive. Guns are very expensive. Headsets are very expensive. So I'm not sure why the helmets aren't, but
I haven't
they're
even been
not.
wearing helmets.
The only reason I am wearing helmets is because I've been finding so many, and like I said, like I've already gotten one or two back from insurance because they're, I think about 3 or 4K to insure. So it's like it's so much cheaper than anything else for some reason.
But yeah, when it comes to like insurance versus no insurance, you kind of have to look at how you're going to play your in raid time. You want to prioritize certain things over the other. You're not necessarily looking to go fight everyone and you hear a shot, go run it down, chase this person, try to fight here, 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 and here because it doesn't matter if you die. Where now your survival is the aspect. Your survival is the priority. And with that, you kind of have to pick and choose your fights. You don't always want to just push, push, push because if you keep doing that, you're going to end up with nothing. You're going to blow through all your cash because you're buying your items again. You have to restock offense, restock meds off therapist, and the next thing you know, within a few raids, you will be broke. Like there's no doubt
Oh,
about it.
and yeah, you can't just run your scav over and over and over because they had originally an hour and 15-minute cooldown. I think it's been lowered now. At least that's what was said on Twitter. But I don't
Hopefully not
know.
drastically,
Yeah, I doubt us drastically. It seems like everything that they lowered was just
incremental. Just
minor
yes,
changes.
yeah,
So I'm assuming and hoping that scavs are the same deal.
yeah.
I almost guarantee they are. Like that seems just insane to just take it back to like 20 minutes or 30
15 minutes,
minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't see
When
that.
the and that's the thing too is like your scav life almost becomes as important as your PMC
It
life. Like
does.
you're getting one scab per one PMC is almost like the breakdown like raid wise. So it's like you don't really want to waste your scab either. I think one thing that this wipe is really trying to push is the idea that survival is the aspect of the game that you should focus on over the looting
Yeah.
and the tasking and just the typical things that we're used to seeing and used to doing. Like I don't want to say days or gone are the days of pushing dorms and trying to kill everybody in there because like you could still totally do that and you absolutely can, but I think the majority of the idea behind this wipe is to teach players that sometimes you're put into a situation and it's just you. You don't have things to rely on to make your life easier. You have to focus on, making the right choices, making the right calls, pushing the right fights, deciding when to shoot versus not shoot. Um, and alongside with that is it's harder to find items like gun parts, suppressors, scopes, that kind of stuff. The mounts for the scopes and things to make, so building a gun out to where you are able to do those things without having to worry about people hearing you and seeing you and knowing exactly where you are has become harder to do as well. So it's like every change that was made has made it to just like focus that much more on survival. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of players are struggling to figure that out because it seems like
Yeah.
I mean, just on Ground Zero last night, like we ran into people, that were just running and gunning and doing everything. And it's like, okay, well, we're moving quiet. And honestly, you are in a better advantage when you are moving quietly and you are being tactical and you are thinking things out a little bit more. Because those players that just come running around a corner, not paying attention to anything, they're the ones dying, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, you got to know
sure.
when to slow down and just pay attention. You can't just W key it. And
Well, one thing I
it,
noticed is I'm seeing dead bodies in random places, not just the
yeah, fights are happening more places for sure.
yeah. Um,
But like,
Okay. So with the idea that movement or silent movement is a major aspect of it, and just creeping around is a big deal. Covert movement is going to be, in my opinion, one of the biggest stats or skills you can level right now. I just think that it's so crucial to be able to move quietly and people not know where you are. That way, you can get the jump on somebody and genuinely surprise them and take the kill. It just like you need to prioritize moving silently in a lot of
yeah,
scenarios. Sure, you're still running a lot of the time. You're still trying to get from place to place. But
right.
I
You
mean,
got to know
we've
when to
spent
use it, when
entire
not to.
raids just creeping around an area and trying to get from here to there without being spotted because we didn't have good shit. We've died. There was this, that, and the other happened. So it's like
Right.
it all boils back to just like prioritizing survival over the other aspects of the game, especially when
Yeah.
there's at the time there were no tasks. The insurance was too expensive to do. Buying kits and guns and things like that was ridiculously expensive to the point that it's not worth buying. It's like I only have so much stuff, and I can't afford to buy more stuff because even if I sell every item I find, like I'm barely making any money back. I'm spending triple to quadruple that to purchase the items. Um, so it's like just the idea of survival has been enhanced that much more. Like the idea of survival is the aspect of this wipe.
Yeah.
So
If I
just
had
take your
to,
time, take it slow, and just don't rush things. You don't have to rush things. You have time.
if I had to summarize everything that they've done, and Tarkov has that age-old question about, oh, is it a survival game? Is it a looter shooter? Is it just for
You-
chads? You've always had those arguments, and I think this is BSG's way of saying we kind of let things go a certain direction over the years where you were just able to buy whatever you needed, and your life didn't matter. As long as you had traders and money, you could just re-kit right after your death, go right back in. You're good. And
Yeah,
I think this
yeah,
is their way of pointing people towards a more original Tarkov vision, which was it was way more survival back in the day. It really was. Like there were probably, I don't know, there were a lot more people who played it kind of like we do. And now you have a ton of people who they see their favorite streamer just, W keying it around every corner on labs, and, you know, doing their crazy movement and just killing everything they
yeah.
see and not worrying about being quiet at all. All they're doing is trying to make money, get loot, get kills. It's just people have been shown that version of Tarkov for so long. Like that's the kind of Tarkov that blew up.
Yeah, it's
But
so
I
so heavily
don't think
ingrained in players'
Nikita
minds.
ever wanted it to be that. And we know that he said that. He's said it so many times that he wanted it way more hardcore than it's been. He didn't want the flea market to be permanent. Like he was wanting to do changes, but he was always afraid of the backlash of the community because people had gotten so used to these different ways of playing Tarkov. But if
Let's
anything,
be honest, the community complains a lot. Anytime
they
any
do no
changes
matter what.
happen,
No matter what.
yeah, like
And
the
that's
Tarkov community, we love you guys. We're part of this community too, but there
yeah.
are a lot of people that just flat out complain no matter what they change.
And
They're
that's
going to complain
the
about it.
gaming community in general. And that's life in general. That's people in general. Like you're never going to satisfy everybody. And even if you did, they would still complain about something. Like that's just unfortunately how it goes. But I feel like if anything, this is showing us that we could have that version of Tarkov that is more survival than, you know, looter shooter, and people would be okay with it. They would adapt. It has a lot of people excited to come back. So you might lose a few, but you're going to gain a bunch of people that missed the old version. So
Right, yeah,
I'm
for
just,
sure.
I just feel like if anything, their final wipe, that's the time to kind of show people what Tarkov could be, and then let the community react how they want. Take that into consideration once 1.0 hits, and make your changes off that. But I'm leaning towards Nikita doing this to kind of ease players into it because I think they're going to do some of this. I think this is going to be Tarkov. At least I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
well, we do know that like in-raid traders and things like that are supposed to be introduced, and like the idea of how we play Tarkov is supposed to change. Nikita stated multiple times like it's going to be a big change. There's going to be a lot of stuff different from what you're used to. So yeah, like getting players just more comfortable with those ideas too is a good thing. Um, oh, another thing we should probably mention is 100% boss spawn on every map. It sure you can transition to this side or the other, but the bosses are always going to be there. Um, and alongside of that, I just want to say things are likely going to get harder, or at least not necessarily harder, but more hardcore in line with the hardcore playstyle. Um, we know that they are still introducing a lot of new changes, phases, and things like that. We have rule set pieces that they haven't introduced yet and things. So, yeah, I'm curious as to see where it goes and where it ends up. Is there anything else? Have we missed anything like
I mean,
major?
there's probably a few more things here and there, but this is probably going to update pretty constantly as far as like, we already had updates on day 2. So I could see day 3, day 4. So if there is anything we miss, we'll probably make another video pretty soon and we'll get you back up to speed. And if we miss something, we'll cover it then. But I think that's pretty much everything we had talked about.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this chat, be sure to like the vid and comment below how your hardcore wipe has been so far. And of course, if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to the channel. We're on the road to 1K, so it helps us out a lot and it keeps you up to date with all of our content. Thanks to our subscribers and a special thanks to our channel members. We appreciate your support. If you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a member below. We'll catch you next week. See ya.